Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Well, good evening everybody and welcome back to the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship. My name is Ron Mullins, joining me in the commentary booth is Aaron Smith, and in the virtual production hall we have our old buddy Josh Wilkie. We welcome you all to the third round of the season, coming to you tonight here on Apex Racing TV from Okayama. It's a track that's the site of many racing series week in and week out in real life. It also included the Formula 1 World Championship that held two races here back in 1994 and 1995, if I'm not mistaken, under the name of the Pacific Grand Prix. It's also a track that many iRacers have come accustomed to and have plenty of experiences with, both traumatic and triumphant. So I think, I mean, I've had even share of both those triumphant and traumatic experiences myself. What about you, Aaron?
Honestly, it's more triumph here than anything. I'm fairly good round here. I think one of my last wins in F3 that I did actually came at this track. It's just fairly simple, but it's very easy to overdrive, especially at that beginner level in those Mazdas, those lower formula cars, especially through that first and last sectors where you're just pushing it a little bit too hard and you can easily have a spin or go wide onto the gravel trap. But I think it's pretty decent for racing in these lower classes, and I think I mentioned this at one point last week. I don't know how Formula 1 raced here. I think that's just ridiculous, and this track is way too small for Formula 1, but I mean, they made it work for 2 years, and yeah, I think today's going to be great though in these Formula 4s. And well, we've got qualifying underway at the moment, and it's a tricky session qualifying here. If I remember correctly, it's, of course, there's not really that many slipstreaming opportunities. You kind of want to be on your own for these types of sessions, so I think it's going to be close because it's a short track, as Jay Walsh making a slight mistake there. But it's going to be close, but I don't know. It's going to be a tricky session to predict.
Yeah, I think this race is going to be really tricky throughout everything that we have coming up for you tonight. I think the qualifying session, as you pointed out, it's a little bit different. I think it's world difference compared to what we saw last time out at Silverstone, where the drift was just so important in that qualifying session at a track where the gyros were basically full throttle throughout a vast majority of it. Here, as you mentioned, a little bit on the smaller end. Formula 1, it was basically like a glorified go-kart track when F1 raced here back in the day, and here in the Formula 4 cars, it's a little bit, I could say, down to earth size-wise. You have that one long back straightaway, which is really the only disproportionately long straightaway on this track, the longest on this circuit, and then you have that start-finish straightaway, which isn't the longest in the world, but you still have just enough slipstream going down that start-finish straightaway to try and attempt a corner heading into turn 1, which is actually called the first corner here. You gotta love that blunt Japanese corner naming technique. So I think while we're in this qualifying session, which is split because of the amount of cars that we have racing in this series, I think we'll take a look at some of the championship standings from this series. We are going to be, this is the third round of the season, so we have 2 rounds under our belt, so we have a good idea as to who's going to be up towards the front of the standings throughout all the classes. First up is the pros, where it's going to be your reigning champion Burgesson, who did not pick up a win so far this season, is currently at the front of the standings right now. Archie Heron there in P2, Salim Senturk there in P3, Jordan Johnson in 4th, and Adrianson's running out the top 5. Fairly even keel stuff between the drivers running up towards the front. That's going to be a great battle between now and the end of the season. Then looking at the AMs, a little bit of a smaller field. It's Labinson at the front of that, Plastow in 2nd, Minot in P2, my apologies, Minot in P3, Rutten in 4th, and then Jay Walsh running at your top 5. Had that quick little lock up there, which I hope will not affect him too badly, but he definitely has a flat spot on that inside front tire. Then in the Pro-Am category is going to be Lortzen in 1st, Heldorn in 2nd, Michelson in 3rd, Adrian Sinsa in 4th, and Luan Holt running at the top 5 in the Pro-Am category. And I'm honestly surprised that Burgesson is at the front of the Pro category, because, I mean, he's been decently quick running up towards the front, and he's made both of the final races that we've had so far this season, but he hasn't really, like, struck out to me too much. I mean, he's been consistent, you gotta give him credit for that, but still, I'm a little bit shocked that he's running at the front of the championship standings right now. What about you, Aaron?
It's kind of the similar story that we had last season. He was never the #1 quickest driver, but he was just incredibly consistent and always put himself in those good spots on the racetrack. And I think that's just one of his strengths. Honestly, he has that championship mentality of, I just have to be in the best place at all times. And, you know, he's not taking too many risks. It's sort of only when it's, you know, the do or die moments on the last lap. I do believe he got a heat race win last week. I could be completely wrong on that, but he is still a very, very quick driver, and I wouldn't be surprised if he took another championship, but he has got some very, very quick drivers, and if he allows those guys to run away with it and maybe get a little bit too far out of his reach on track and in the championship, it's going to be tough for him to try and claw it back. But I have faith in the Swede. He's a very, very sensible and quick driver, as we all saw last season. He just was always very smart, very patient, and just waited for those opportunities. As another driver who's fairly quicker, I believe, only made his debut last weekend, but the 2 Finns who are currently P1 and 2. Kumala last season was one of the top drivers as well. Wellen, I don't believe, competed last season, but I mean, he's had an absolutely amazing, first 2 rounds that he's been here so far. So I expect the 2 Finns to be competitive as they were last week. Maybe Senturk probably should make his way through the field during qualifying. I expect him to improve on his lap times. He's on a pretty decent lap at the moment. Not saying any purple sectors, but he might jump ahead a place or 2 up to 4th or 3rd. But I see a lot of drivers really struggling here at the moment. There's quite a big gap between the 2 Finns at the top and everyone else.
Aaron, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to mention the drivers running up towards the front of the qualifying order right now, about 8 minutes into this 10-minute qualifying session. They were just the stars of the show last time at Silverstone, the Wave Italy drivers making their debuts this season, and Wheelman Wellen, as I like to call him now, making his debut in the series altogether. They impressed me a lot last week. They did run into some bad luck, and they ran into each other as well, so fingers crossed we don't see some fisticuffs break out between the 2 of them, because they have the pace, and hopefully if they have the teamwork, they can really stand out and really stake a claim on their chances of winning the championship here in this 3rd season of the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship. Now, we've mentioned a little bit about kind of the format. We've gone over it a lot. It's a 10-minute qualifying session now that we have 2 heat races where the top 8 advance to the A main that we'll have later on this evening, and then the rest of those drivers get sent down to the B main, where the top 4 finishers from that race will go to the A main final. 20 drivers will be starting that A main, and they've been, I mean, just the racing that we've had so far this season has been absolutely incredible. And one of the reasons why all these drivers have been racing hard, we have prizes. I've mentioned it every single broadcast so far this season, 650 pounds worth of Apex Racing Academy subscriptions. And as we've always done, we'll run through the currency conversions for you. So that's 650 pounds is about 824 US dollars, or roughly the cost of about 3 con balls at your average American hospitals. We see a spin there in the final few corners. Tough break there from Michelson, had to check up quite a lot. It's about 759 euros. And lastly, it is 2,862 Turkmenistani manats. So we are slowly going down the rabbit hole worse and worse of random obscure currencies. Thank you very much to Google for just a quick little search there to help out. You can see some nice drifting there from Jelt Heldorn going through the middle section of this track. That's a very tricky corner for me. That was heading through the very tough left-hander of, that was going through my track map here, that was turn 7. Yeah, turn 7 that he had that little drift coming out of. I've made plenty of mistakes going through there. Is that a really tricky corner, or are there some other tough ones that you think these drivers are going to get caught out by tonight, Aaron?
I think there's a lot of very similar-esque corners. I do think turn 7's definitely one of the more tricky ones. Not necessarily just because of the corner itself, but more for that kind of race, because it's you have a decent opportunity into turn 8 to overtake someone. You want to get a really good run off that corner, and sometimes you take just a little bit more than you realistically should, and you try and get a really good exit, and you just end up overdoing it. So I think it's more overdriving than anything, but yeah, this track's a tricky one, but really nice to drive nonetheless.
Fingers crossed it lends itself to some good racing. We're going to see if that prediction is true in just a few moments' time. So qualifying, I believe, has now wrapped up. We're going to get the starting grid for the first heat race in just a few moments' time. It's, I believe, 16 cars will be here on the grid for this first heat race here. And I think we're in for a really good race here. I think, am I having some kind of technical issue here? Okay, I think, yeah, all right, yeah, I'm currently, I believe we have some kind of slight technical issue on my end right now. We'll try and get that fixed here in just a few moments' time. I gotta imagine we're in for a really good race, especially heading into turn 1, which is not the slowest corner in the world. I gotta imagine the overtakes there are going to be pretty bold here later on in tonight's race. So it's going to be Vetty Wheelman Wellen there at the front of the running order here. He'll be the pole sitter for this first heat race. Lewis Gordon there in second, Senturk in third, Van Dalen in fourth, Adrian Sins in fifth, Jones in sixth, Heron in eighth, Heron in seventh, my apologies. Lordson will be in eighth, and then it's Amblord in ninth, and then Lorenzato there rounding out your top 10. We'll go through the rest of the field in just a few moments' time. There you can see 16 drivers taking the green here in this first heat race. I gotta imagine this is going to be pretty hectic. We've seen from the heat races so far this season, one tends to be chaotic and the other one tends to be a little bit easy, so we'll see if some of these drivers just try and take it clean and try and just keep their race cars clean, because we've been seeing some plenty of accidents and plenty of argy-bargy action throughout this season thus far. So the lights are on, the 5 lights are going to head out, and the drivers are going to be on their way. Fairly long run in these small little plucky Formula 4 cars to head into turn 1. It's going to be your pole sitter there with a fantastic start. You can see him fanning out farther in the back, but your pole sitter gets off to a pretty good start there. 133 leads heading into turn 1. That is well in there at the front of the running order. You can tell the pros, oh boy, there's already contact. Senturk got sideways heading through 2 and took out, I believe that's Lewis Gordon that he took out there. So 2 of the pro drivers taken out already, and they're both having to tow back to the pits with massively wrecked race cars. 2 of the drivers that we always see running up towards the front of these races are going to have to slug down the B main.
Well, that's going to be a fairly easy win for Wellen. Then he's already 1.2 seconds ahead. And that's your 2 biggest contenders as well for the win. That's absolutely just wiped themselves out. I think it was Senturk who just got it all wrong. Oh, there's a driver getting it all wrong into the hairpin. And luckily, no one manages to get collected. But I think it was Senturk who just lost it in the middle of that corner. And unfortunately, just crashed into Gordon, who, yeah, absolutely nothing he could have done there. Right on board with Adriansons now, who has had a good start. He's up 2 places so far, not too bad. He's trying to make one more, as that is Zutuele, who's trying to go for a move on Labinson, I believe, in front. So always getting awfully close at the end of this first lap. And, well, you don't really want to be going side by side through these corners, especially in these Formula 4 cars. Adrianson tries to go up the inside, and that looked like a fairly textbook move. He's gained 3 places now in this opening lap, but It's Wellen who's 1.5 seconds ahead out in front. It's just going to be a squabble for those final podium spots now. And we're definitely going to have to look at what happens to Gordon and Senturk. It's a absolute, just a miracle that nobody else was collected by it as well.
Yeah, running up towards the front of the field when they wreck, they're running second and third at the time. So the fact they managed to have a fairly slow dance to that inside tire barrier and they didn't click anyone else into the wall is truly unbelievable. But they are out of the race, and we're going to get a replay here. You can see Gordon on the outside, the number 177 car. Senturk just got a little bit sideways, tried to correct it, and clipped him just slightly there. It's a matter of pixels here, folks. Just a small little space, small little bit of difference can just decide the difference between a nice little drift there coming through the second corner and then a massive accident. Yeah, you could just see Senturk very, he caught it initially and then just had a second snap of oversteer, and oh man, it's so unfortunate for the both of those drivers. It's a racing incident for sure, definitely no intent involved in that, but it's a little bit, I mean, we've basically had 3 of the pro drivers butchered already. Lewis Gordon and Senturk involved in that crash, and Laney did not take the start. So we already have 3 pro drivers on the back foot heading into this race, which is allowing Tim Run, the AM driver currently running in 8th, to be in the last transfer spot. That's looking very good for the driver running in the AM class right now.
Yeah, and pretty much any amateur that gets through to that A final is just a massive points boost. And that's Harvey Jones going for a move up on the inside onto Adrianson's. This is going to be a good battle for these last podium spots. It's super close. From second all the way down to 6th, it's 0.8 of a second. They are super, super close. I can imagine going into turn 5, the hairpin, that's going to be absolute chaos. Adrianson's looking up the inside, but thinks better of it. He's going to have a nice slipstream down this back straight on Harvey Jones, and Harvey's going to have to defend, well, very, very hard. He's got 4 other cars on his rearview mirror, and they're already trying to go up each other's insides, and I can't imagine this is going to end well at all if they make any kind of mistake. But Harvey Jones does defend very well, but there's a mistake from Van Dalen, and that's going to be crucial. Another bit of contact. That was Zutuele in 9th place, who's definitely got front wing damage. And actually, his car looks perfectly fine. He's gotten very lucky there that he's just about managed to get away with that. But, wow, that was not good at all. I think it was Van Dalen and I think Heron who got together. It was one of those guys at the back and was rather unfortunate. But it's given Zutuele, who's only 1 place off the transfer spot now, Rutten up to 6th. He's looking very, very good in the AMs. And Lauritsen is the only Pro-Am driver really in contention right now. He's having a really good race, and this is of course really good for his championship hopes.
It is looking very good for a lot of these drivers right now. Currently, it's only 1 Pro-Am and 1 AM driver right now in the transfer spots to move into that A main. As you mentioned, just getting into that final is a really big points boost for the drivers running in the AM and the Pro-Am categories. I think it was round 1 at Jerez as we're seeing some battling farther in the back. This is between Adriansons and Zutuele for that. Actually, they're running in the tail end of the top 10 right now. They're a little bit farther back of that transfer spot, so unless they start to work together as pseudo teammates to try and push their way up towards the front in the second half of this race, it's looking very good for the drivers running in P8, but still anything can happen between now and the checkered flag. But getting back to the point that I was going to mention, I think it was Jerez to kick off this season. We only saw 1 AM driver take the start in the A final, so the fact they just made it to the A final granted them the win and granted a massive boost in the championship, so that's really important. Oop, I think we had some... Was that some tussling farther behind? Yeah, Adrian, since you can see dropping back like a rock. I think I see some tire marks there farther in the back. I completely missed that. I think, Aaron, did you catch that in the corner of your eye?
Yeah, no, I kind of just saw like a tiny glimpse of it, and then just saw on the relative was just like, oh, okay, he's just died. I didn't really see what happened. I don't know if it was just all by himself. We're going to obviously have a look, and yeah, it just was all by himself, and off onto the gravel, and that's straight into the wall. And unfortunate for Adriansons, who had a pretty good start. He was up 4 places, I think. But yeah, just one tiny mistake, and that's going to be the end of his first heat race. He'll have to struggle it out in the B final. This B final is already looking quite good, and we've only got 3 retirements: Gordon, Senturk, and Adriansons. Now, I'm surprised that Gordon and Senturk, considering they're in a championship fight, haven't gone back out, because every point matters. and you know, anything can happen across this whole season, and you need to collect as many points as you can. So, of course, I believe it's if you finish more than 2 laps down, you don't score. So, I'm surprised that they haven't just gone straight back out and just finished in 14th and 15th, and well, could have gained 1 place on our instance. So, yeah, unfortunate for those lots that they escaped early and are just spectators now. But it gives us a chance to just focus on the remaining battles in this race. We've got Rutten and Lorenzato battling for 6th place. Rutten's just holding on to crumbs at this point. He's just getting as many points as he can for that AM championship, as these kind of results for the AMs are really, really crucial. And we must not forget as well, Lorenzen in 3rd. A podium for a Pro-Am is really, really good considering the field that we have. It's very competitive, and he's doing a fantastic job of matching Harvey Jones and Adrianson's on pace. He's going really, really impressive, is the Dane.
Yeah, that's not only good just in terms of the pace, that's really good for like just a quick low ego boost heading into the rest of this race. If he finishes this race in P3, which, I mean, I think it may be a little bit unlikely he finishes on the podium because Adrianson's is really challenging from the back of him. We'll see if these two try and tussle here in the later stages of this race. But still, just finishing in the top 5, finishing ahead of some of the best drivers in the pro category, and just knowing that you're locked into that A main it's a great ego rub, if you could say. So I think right now Lortzen is really happy about the position he's running in. I wouldn't be too shocked if he doesn't fight this position very hard, Adrian, since you can see how much he closed up in the braking zone there at the end of the back straightaway heading into turn number 5. But that is a very good result right now. If Lortzen holds on there, it will be a defensive masterclass he has to put on if he will hold on to that spot. I believe we'll be taking the white flag this time by, unless some major drama happens, which we've seen it from this season already in the first 2 races of the season. It's looking very good for Will Manuel to take yet another heat win here. Actually, I say yet another. He didn't win his heat 1 at Silverstone, but was very close to. I believe he led a vast majority of that race. This is very much different to Silverstone, though. He's pretty much been in his own ballpark throughout a vast majority of this race, and is going to take a fairly commanding checkered flag. Yeah, they did take the white flag this time by. We have less than a minute left on the clock and 1 lap to go in this race. A 4-second gap between himself and Jones in P2. So it's looking very good for Welland, looking very good for Run as well, as you can actually see we're now following this is Zotowelli. He's called up to Amblord, and they're now trying to tussle for that last transfer spot. This is a battle. Ooh, it's very close stuff here. It's a battle between a pro and an am here. There's going to be some real tough stuff here between the two of them. Right now Amblord is in that catbird seat to move on and make his way into the A main, but it's still going to be really close stuff here. I think Zutowell is seeing the fact that as Run, his fellow AM driver, is running well farther up the road, pretty much in a very fairly safe lane right now. He may try and force the issue here. He's trying to get the move done down the inside. It's going to be a battle of the last late breakers heading into turn 5, and he gets the move done there. Very smooth, very nicely done there. Amblord is going to be kicking himself and probably trying to size up a move here in the final few corners of this race, but I just don't think he has the time. We're going through turn 8 now. We're going through turn 7. My apologies. Turn 8 may be the only chance he has left. One of the last braking zones on this entire circuit. It just wasn't close enough to get the move done there, so I don't feel confident about Amblord making his way into the A main, so we'll follow those two on the live timing screen. Meanwhile, Welland going to take the checkered flag in a commanding fashion, 4.2 seconds ahead of Jones there in P2. Then it's going to be Lortzen. Actually held off that challenge from Adriansons, who did briefly retake that position, so Lortzen going to grab a podium as a Pro-Am driver. That's very impressive. Meanwhile, I believe Zutowell is going to hold off on that final transfer spot. A fantastic result from the Pro and Am drivers in this race. That was very impressive from the 3 drivers breaking up that pro fight in the transfer spots.
I was very surprised that Amblord just didn't bother fighting that last spot at all. He just kind of let it go and just let Zutowelli just go on through and just gave him that place. I'm not sure if there's a bit of friendliness between those two, but yeah, just very odd. He just kind of gave the place to him.
I think now we've hit the finish of that first heat race. We're going to get the starting grid here for you for heat number 2 here. I got to imagine this one, hopefully we don't see the drivers take each other out. I think we're in for a pretty good barn burnover race here. And it's going to be Komala starting this race from the pole, Spetskins in P2. That's going to be Guzmel in P3. Michelson, the Pro-Am driver, in 4th. Heldorn in 5th with that beautiful drifting qualifying. Jordan Johnson from Apex Racing Academy in 6th. Elvis Reese there in P7. Lewin Holt in P8. That's going to be Delgredere. I probably butcher that pronunciation. He'll be in 9th, and McFarquhar will round out your top 10. We'll take a look at the rest of the grid. Actually, we won't be able to do that as we've already taken the start here. It's a pretty even keel start from the front 3 there. You can see Johnson trying to get a move done here very early on, nearly picking it 3 wide, heading into turn number 1, but a fairly even keel start from a lot of these drivers. No one really dropping back very early on. This is a tricky corner here. Turn number 2. We'll see if we have some drivers come to blows heading through this corner. Ooh, that was very close to some drivers coming to blows. I think that was farther outside the top 10, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I saw a driver nearly getting forced off the track. A move here farther up towards the front, but it was a massive overshoot, and it's allowed the Pro-Am drivers to slip through 3 wide. I thought that was going to end in absolute tears as they went onto the back straightaway, but that was beautifully executed there from the driver that's now running in P2 of Alexander Michelson. We'll see if he can hold off on that position. For now, he's got there's a swarm of Formula 4s trying to battle and claw for every position they can at the start of this race. Basically 5 cars separated by a blanket right now. It is incredibly tense stuff. We've got 3 pros and 2 Pro-Ams in the field. Meanwhile, up towards the front, your pro leader is just drifting off into the distance, seeing this chaos ensue farther behind.
Yeah, it's kind of sort of the same we saw from the start of last race, except without, you know, the big crash between P2 and P3. But the leader has just stormed away, and it's genuinely the exact same gap that Wellin had at the end of his first lap, 1.2 seconds. So it could just be a carbon copy of the first race. There's a crash into the far new corner. I believe that's Reese who's gone off. It is, and I'm not sure who he had contact with, but I think McFarquhar might have been involved in that. We're going to take a look at a quick, cheeky replay. This 203 Brazilian coming into the last few corners. I don't know if it was all by himself. And, he just got a bit too close to the car in front. And unfortunately just misjudged that really, really badly. And is now running in last place. So he's got a lot of work to do. A couple other drivers have had incidents in those first few corners as well. You've got Delaguardo in 11th place. Plastow as well has made a mistake. Still don't know what happened to McFarquhar. But, yeah, 4 drivers already kind of down and out of it. But the top 8 still fairly close. And we got a lot more Pro-Ams in this one than we did in the last one. There's actually 1 driver in the top spots. It's really not a good race for the Pro-Ams in that first heat. But looking a lot more competitive in the second one.
There's going to be some really tense stuff all throughout this race, and we're seeing some of the action. Ooh, that nearly came to blows going down the start-finish straightaway. Oh, they did come to blows heading into turn 1. That was... who was that there that was spinning wildly out of control into the gravel trap? I'm not sure who exactly that was, but it was Guzmel that actually that was not Guzmel, my apologies, that tipped him into the spin. I believe that might have been, just going through my live timing, I'm not sure who that was. Was that Plastow that got pitched into the spin there? Because he was running, I think it was decently. Yeah, I think he was running in a decent position, but then dropped back like a rock. He is essentially in no man's land between your P12 runner and then Reese there, who's actually reclawed quite nicely. Is 13.3 seconds back of your leader, only a half a second behind Plastow. I doubt very highly he'll be able to break in to those transfer spots, but the fact that he managed to have that spin, went off the track on lap 1, and has actually reclawed that position is actually quite nicely. So meanwhile, we're seeing some action here in the Pro-Am categories. Ooh, there's some hard stuff here. Going through the middle section, yep, a little bit of contact there. I think very lucky that those drivers got away with it.
Yeah, usually contact like that ends in a very huge crash, and luckily it didn't that time around, and McFarquhar sort of made his way through, and yeah, it gained that place. Just maybe he needed to leave a little bit more room, as this is getting quite feisty for, I believe this is 5th, 4th and 3rd, as Guzmel has just managed to break away a little bit from 3rd place. Is about 8 tenths now, and of course Kumala is still leading the way, still by 1.2 seconds. He's just keeping the gap nice and clean at the moment, but Michelson just trying to fend off Johnson and held on, as Auric is about another second behind, and then Spetkins, and then Hot rounding out your top 8 spots. It's fairly intense between Reese and Plastow, actually. They're battling very, very hard. They've lost a lot of time, though. So the car's in front, so that's cost them dearly, and they most likely, as you said, Ron, will not make it into that top 8 this race, but, you know, people can just crash at any moment, so who knows what's going to happen. But it looks very unlikely for Reese. He's just falling further and further down the field, and probably will stay in 13th place. I can't see him gaining anything. Oh, and he's about to lose another place to Plastow, and that was a huge mistake that nearly just cost him his entire race. And yeah, it's just getting worse and worse for Reese, and he's just tumbling down now. He's 17 seconds. He's lost 5 seconds to the leaders.
That is, I mean, I gotta imagine he just cooked those tires. We're seeing some battling here for the last 2 transfer spots. Llewellyn Holt going for a move, heading into turn 5, actually gets a move done nicely there on Spetkins to move up into P7. There's a pretty big gap between Spetkins and Walsh between P8 and P9, about 5 seconds, actually more than that, separating those 2 drivers. So I think fairly confident in saying the fact that 5.5 minutes into this race, the top 8 are pretty much on lock. I think we have our field split at this rate. We've got the drivers running inside the top 8 and the drivers running outside the top 8. It'd be tough for Jay Walsh, who's been a pretty impressive figure throughout this season thus far. He's put on some pretty good results, has been involved in a few tussles here and there, but I think he's just been able to keep his car clean all throughout all the races this season. So I think him just being so far back just shows you how hard some of these drivers have been battling and how fast the drivers in the top 8 between the Pro and the Pro-Ams are running.
I mean, the Pro-Ams this race are going a lot better than they did in the last one compared to 1. Now we have 4 drivers going in. No AMs this time, though, and I can't really see them getting in either. They're 6 seconds off the spots right now, so yeah, unfortunate for the AMs this race, but of course they have a chance to claw back in the B final, although saying that the B final looks absolutely stacked, so gonna be tough for the rest of the AMs to try and get through, but you never know what can happen in these races, literally anything, as we might be able to find out just right now, as Michelson goes defensive on Jordan Johnson, goes a tad bit deep. Johnson might be able to sneak up round the outside, and it's going to be side by side. They have to be careful, no contact, and I don't know how there wasn't any, as now Heldorn's trying to get a piece of the pie on Michelson. This is for the Pro-Am lead now. Heldorn on the outside going into this next corner. Not really the best line, unless you can keep it. Then you have the inside line for this next corner. I think he's just about snuck his nose in there. He has, and I think he's gotten ahead of Michelson. But Michelson just about keeping it ahead around the outside. Again, Heldorn has the inside line and finally gets the place. And that's the Pro-Am lead and 4th place for the Dutchman, as Michelson loses 2 places within about 30 seconds, as Ulrich now wants to get involved in this. Michelson's not going to give this one up, but just is a bit passive on the brakes. Heldorn goes a bit wide. Oh, this is getting super, super close. Ulrich's choosing wisely to stay out of it for now, as they all go single file through these next few corners, and they'll wait for the long, long back straight to dive bomb each other into the hairpin.
Ulrich has a great game on track. You can see, oh my God, that could have ended in absolute disaster there for Johnson. That was very, very, actually, I believe that was Heldorn, my apologies. Heldorn, I saw him, that was probably at just like a 5 or 10 degree angle going into turn 4, but that could have ended in absolute disaster if that ended just a few more inches. If those two made contact, that would have ended in tears for all of them. But you can see still hard battling here. Heldorn holding on that position after that Code Brown moment, heading into turn number 4. He's still trying to hold off on that position. Ark has a great game here on track, and apparently a great game in real life, as you can tell from the picture that he has here on the SDK graphics. As beautiful. Anyways, he's putting on a beautiful show right now, trying to hold off any challenge from Michelson, who's on his inside right now. I just saw the edge of that front wing there. They're going 3 wide. This is not going to work, boys. Oh my God, that was Llewellyn Holt that went for his quick little dive, I think, into the gravel trap. Actually, he managed to evade the gravel trap. That is very impressive, but he's still trying to race really hard. With that stack up, it's created a 4-car pack here. You can cover all these cars with a blanket currently. This race, I thought it was just cooling off, but it is heating up quite dramatically dramatically right now. Luan Holt, I gotta imagine, is he going to really challenge hard as he's trying to go for a move heading into turn 1 and gets it done there on Spetskin's beautiful move. I was going to say, would he try and take it easy and try not to make too many risks? Because we saw him nearly go off the track not very long ago, and right now he has a massive gap between himself and Jay Walsh, so he can't really risk it too much, otherwise he may fall out of those transfer positions. He doesn't have to risk it too much because he's going to make it into the A main regardless, but this does decide the starting grid for that A main, so you can see all these drivers battling as hard as they can, pushing it as hard as they can. It is beautiful to watch right now. We are on the white flag lap, so we have no time left to go in this race. We're seeing the battling continue between Spetskins and Hold Ho trying to go for a move. That is a beautiful move, as my colleagues untimely yodeling says, heading into turn number 5. That was an incredible, I wasn't expecting that move from Hot, but he managed to get the move done there. That was a very textbook stuff there. That may be our pick for the highlight of the week here from this Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship race here at Okayama. But our attention now will switch to your leader, Kolmala, who's on his way to a pretty dominant win. 1.5 seconds, so not as dominant as his Wave Italy Racing Team teammate, but it's still pretty good way to start off this evening. So it's going to be a double there for the Wave Italy drivers. Both of the Finns take the checkered flags in both of the heat races here in fairly dominant fashion. Guzelmel will finish there in P number 2. Johnson rounding out your podium. Heldorn, Eric, Michelson, and Halt will round out your top 7 with Spetskins. A little bit disappointing for the pro driver to finish well far back of the rest of his pro competitors. So I think he may be a little bit disappointed about that fact, but he is still moving on to the A main. And good lord, this was a beautiful move. Call it, Aaron.
Damn it.
No.
It switched to the
beautiful
B
timing from my end. Oh boy. I'll tell you what though, if you want to hear your reaction to that, just the screech that you let out was biblical. I'm not sure what octave that was, but that was beautiful to listen to. I can't really blame you. I was expecting a car to go flying, but we're going to get the starting grid here for the B main. And it's going to be Amblord starting this race from the pole. McFarquhar there, who climbed his way up through the field nicely. He will be in second. Lambenson will be in third. Jay Walsh will be in fourth. Van Dalen will be in fifth. And then that will run at your top 5. I'll go through the rest of the grid here in just a few moments' time. A fairly short run until we get the green flag. I don't want to miss the start like I did last time, but this is a stacked, and I mean stacked grid. I gotta imagine the drivers running in the top 4 right now will not be running there by the time they take the checkered flag in a few moments' time. We'll just have to wait and see. Centurk, I think, is my driver to look out for. He was one of the drivers that we were thinking on looking out for throughout this whole season, but he is on the back foot. We're going to see if he cracks under pressure here in this B main to decide the A main field. The drivers are on their way. It's a long run in these Formula 4 cars. Heading into turn 1, we see some drivers tussling farther in the back. It's a pretty good start there from the drivers running up towards the front of the pack, nearly going 3 wide heading into turn 1. That's very bold stuff, especially on lap 1. Ooh, that was a big slide there. I'm not sure who that was. Farther in the back, I'll take a look at my line. Oh, boy, and we got car nearly tipped up. Okay, I thought, oh, that is Lewis Gordon there.
Gordon again.
Oh, again in turn 2 as well. 2 races in a row. The 2 races. Oh, boy, and we have more carnage heading into turn number 4. I'm not sure who that was. That is the, oh, my God. Van Dalen there makes a little bit of contact. And my God, I mean, we saw a little bit of tussling in those first 2 heat races. Really, the only crash was between Gordon and Centurk. But in this race, we've already gotten it in spades. We might have another one, and we do! Heading into turn 5, as my colleague's very high octave with the again there. Oh my God, Centurk is now dropping down the field. So I think Centurk at this rate is trying to take it easy and just try and get through this lap 1 clean. We're already down to just 12 drivers of the 15 to take a start, and we may have more drivers drop out here as they're still tussling going through the final few corners. But oh my God, this has been a very dramatic start, and a decent one there for Centurk, who's moved up into P8, but I think he realizes that he just needs to keep his car clean at this rate.
Honestly, my first reaction to that lap was Mick Schumacher just beep, 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 beep. Like, I just have no idea. That was just, just so many crashes, so many things happening at once. Yeah, pretty much. I honestly, like, I genuinely want to give Lewis Gordon a hug. Like, it's a bit of contact there already, and then I think the car on the inside just has no idea he's there, understeers into him, and yeah, it's just straight into the wall. And well, Lewis, if you're watching this, I doubt you are because pain. I should just I want to give you a hug. I am so sorry that you've had to be traumatized like this. This is what happened to Labinson. Oh, that was the car on the outside. That was Van Dalen who just got it completely wrong and just did not realize that Labinson was there. And yeah, a little bit more anger in the chat that I'm hearing. This is a view from Reese, who got sent up the inside and yeah, just got a perfect view of the chaos that just ensued in front of him. There was so much going on that first lap. It's absolutely incredible. Here's what happened to Jay Walsh as well. This is coming through the final few corners. Probably just lost it coming around this final corner. That's very, very wide. And yeah, that's one of the easier corners to get wrong, but lucky he managed to keep it on the track. But wow, that was a very, very weird first lap.
That was bizarre. I mean, that was how many crashes that we saw on lap? I mean, it wasn't even lap 1. Between turns number 2 and turns number 5, we saw 3 separate accidents. So that was very bizarre what we saw. So I think we may have some kind of slight glitch here. So hopefully we can get back to the racing action in a few moments' time once that is sorted out. But I mean, wow, that is one heck of a way to start off this race. That is for darn sure. I think we're looking at a replay, if I'm not mistaken here. Actually, no, my apologies. We're now back to the live action here. McFarquhar has moved up to the front of the field, started this race up towards the front, as now once again running up towards the front. But right now, looking through the field, I don't feel very good about Centurk. He's running a P7, so he has a decent... I mean, there is a way for him to get into this race, but I think this is going to be some hard stuff. He's got a lot of cars between him and that transfer spot. He's got some battling cars right in front of him now. Ooh, hard stuff. Heading into turn number 5. Man, this race has been definitely the most hectic one that we've seen thus far. What do you think, Aaron?
I mean, it's just F4, isn't it? Like, it's just official races. This is all it is, just extra and for money. That's the only difference between this and the officials. But honestly, it's very entertaining, and we love to see it. As Santok trying to make his way back through the field, he's still got about a second between him and the position that he craves, I think is the best word I can use to describe it. But he's got some fairly decent drivers in front of him. Plastow, Adriansons, Degraledre, Walsh, Ambelard and Farquhar, they're all very, very competent drivers, and he's going to have to be careful, and I can tell that he is over-pushing slightly. He just needs to be a bit careful. As through that final corner, he was stabbing at that wheel. He just wants these places now. Oh, and that's not going to help him at all. Well, yeah, as our broadcaster just said, well, he got one. Well, he's not wrong. But that's probably going to be a penalty. That was completely on Sentok there. Had no right into that corner. And that sent Plastow down a place and is now under pressure from Spence and Reese as well. So, and I just realized that Sentok has picked up front wing damage as well. So that's going to hinder his chances of getting into those top spots. But Spence trying to go around the outside of Plastow into the hairpin. This is a move that we've seen a couple times work today, but doesn't look like it's going to work too well as Spence. Good thing he backed out there, because that could have been really, really bad.
Yeah, that could have ended in tears if they went into that corner side by side. Turn 6 and turn 7 are not corners you really expect drivers to go side by side in, so thankfully they sense prevailed there, which is something you can't really say about a lot of the battles that we've seen thus far. You can see now, oh, there's a spin there, and Plastow going around, and Reese having to check up there, exiting turn number 9. It's another mistake from one of the drivers that we were expecting to have a pretty good race. Plastow, we're riding on board with him, heading through turn number 9, and just a quick little, yeah, just picked up the throttle a little bit too early. It's a very simple mistake, an easy one to make, but it's still going to hurt just as much. So unfortunately for Plastow, he is dropping down the running order. Thankfully gets it running. Ooh, I think he might have clipped the wall there. A little bit of front wing damage doesn't really affect him. I believe he's actually pulled into the pits and called it a day, so I can't really blame the man. But touching on the action that we have on track right now, there's a few storylines that I really want to follow. Firstly, Jay Walsh is going to give us an interesting, shall we say, battle in AM if he holds onto that position and punches his ticket into the A main. He would be the second driver, only the second driver, to be in that A main from the AM category. So I mean, fingers crossed for that battle, because I want to see some hard tussling for all three of the classes here, that he holds on to that spot, but it could still happen again. It's auto racing. Anything can happen between now and the checkered flag. I'm also looking at Centurk. He has about an 0.8 of a second gap between himself and Adrian Sins, currently running in P6. And as you mentioned there, Aaron, with that contact he had heading through turn 2 not very long ago, where I had a complete out-of-body experience and sound like I was yodeling, or actually it would be opera singing, as I saw that near collision happen going through turn 2 not very long ago. He did pick up that front wing damage, so I gotta imagine, is that affecting the performance of his car? And if it is there any way that Center can kind of try and compensate for that? Because he's not running, I mean, he's running in P6, which would be decent in an A main, but we're in the B main. You need to finish top 4 to advance into the main show. So will he be able to overcome that damage?
Nah.
Yeah, fair enough.
No.
Fair enough.
No. No, but like in these sorts of cars, especially on the iRacing, I haven't driven too much F4 recently. I have plenty of experience in F3, so I can kind of hopefully call it somewhat similar to that as Van Dalen goes up the inside of Reese. As Van Dalen really does have some good pace, and it's a shame that he was involved in that first lap incident, as Reese is going to try and come back at him into this hairpin. These are just for points at this point. So why not just give them some hard racing? They're about 8 seconds off of the transfer spot right now. It's very unlikely either of them are going to make it. Oh, contact, and Van Dalen's sent spinning again. And Reese is trying to drive through his car, and oh dear, this is ending in tears for both of them. Big crash for both of them, and they've moved all the way to the back of the field. And Van Dalen is not too happy in the voice chat. I can't say I'm surprised. And yeah, I gotta say that's on Reese. I gotta say he was moving too far over to the right, and yeah, there's still some angry words being transferred to one another in the voice chat, and yeah, that's bound to happen. I think Van Dalen didn't do too much wrong there. I think Reese could have left him a lot more room, and it's just one of those incidents, just a bit too much from both drivers. And well, they're both in last now, so they've both kind of killed each other's races. But yeah, going on to the damage for Sensec, I mean, one, it gives you horrible straight line speed, which obviously is gonna make overtaking horrible, nearly impossible probably. And of course, it's just going to provoke a bit more understeer. So, and you can tell he's just not gaining time on the cars in front at all. It's just really hindered his progress. And I guess you could call it karma for taking out. I can't remember which driver it was. I might have been Plastow. I'm not 100%, but yeah, it's just not ideal. Oh, this is for third place. Walsh getting overtaken, and it would be a smart idea to just let him go and just follow the slipstream of the Frenchman. And hopefully he can stay in those transfer spots.
With them battling hard, I do not feel good about Jay Walsh in the slightest. He's running in P4. We're riding on board with Adrian since the Pro-Am driver is catching up to his AM counterpart here. I don't feel very good about him. We have 4 minutes, actually less than 4 minutes left to go in this race, but it's feast or famine for a lot of these drivers. Centurk, I think, I mean, we were expecting him to pretty much be a lock running in the podium positions in that first heat race, but then he had that tussling there with Lewis Gordon, and it just sent him in this bad position that, as you said, and I totally agree with the points that you mentioned there, Aaron, I don't really think he can recover from. Adrian, since it actually dropped back off the back of Walsh there, I think he beached himself on the curb coming through turn number 11, so he's actually dropping back a little bit. We'll see if he can try and claw back some time. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have about 2 laps to go, and I think we may see some battling here between Walsh and, we're going to see, actually, Walsh nearly backstabbed. I think he backstabbed. So that's not really, turn 4 is not really a corner you expect to see a lot of side-by-side action on. We saw come to blows at the start of this race. But Walsh there, I think, is putting pressure to the back of Delagadri there in P number 3. I think Delagadri beached himself there on the curb coming out of turn 2, and that cost him a lot of time. Now Walsh is trying to get the move done around the outside. I think he'll have to back out of this here to try and prevent any sort of move that Adrian Sins can pull off. Right as Adrian Sins was looking like he would drop back, he's actually clawed up to him quite nicely, as he saw a mistake there from Walsh coming out of turn number 6. He beached himself on that curb, went into the gravel trap, and had to hit that nice patch of asphalt to complete the short layout here of Okayama, and actually jolted his car a little bit. So I gotta imagine that Walsh is feeling a lot of pressure. If he holds on to that position, he has a really good chance to claw up a lot of points in that AM championship fight, but he's going to have to go through hell in this next lap to try and get there.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to have to be watching his back like a mafia boss, and I believe Reese and Van Dalen are still going at it with each other, probably just for a little bit of a petty rivalry between those two now. They're just fighting for 10th and 11th. Kind of cute little battle between two very damaged cars. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But of course, we want to keep an eye as well on that big battle for 3rd all the way down to 6th place. I don't think Sentuk is going to be able to do anything here with that front wing damage. He's just, in the slipstream, he's about as fast as they are normally. So yeah, he's just going to have to just pray that they all take each other out and he gets an opportunity to snatch one of these places. Walsh probably might have to go for a move on Degualeldre at some point to try and get track position. Gets very close to the Frenchman, but luckily for him, manages to keep both of them on the road. But Walsh is going really, really good in this B-Fun. I've got to say, has showed some impressive pace. And of course, I've been watching Jay Walsh for a while doing these commentary series. I've been watching him for about a year or two now. And he's improved definitely a lot over the past year. And at the moment, definitely in the best place I've seen him. Going very, very well. And here's hoping that he can show everyone what he's made of as we head onto the last lap around this final corner. McFarquhar will take the white flag. And, well, he's been fairly dominant this race. He's nearly 5 seconds ahead of Ambellard. And, yeah, McFarquhar, once again, showing that he has the pace. But sometimes just gets very unlucky. That's the first real mistake we've seen from Jay Walsh. Adriansons can smell the blood of an Englishman, and Walsh just goes a bit deep there. Sentuk trying to go up the inside, but I don't think he's going to be able to do too much. Oh, he's going to give it a fair old go, though, round the outside into turn 5. We've got Walsh still ahead. Into here we go, down into the main straight we go. Onto the hairpin now. This is going to be pretty much the last and best opportunity these guys have to battle one another. Walsh is going to have to hug the inside line. Adriansons might go for a fake. He is going to go for a fake, but doesn't think it's worth a go. Sentuk trying to go around the outside of Adriansons. Oh, there's big contact. And Sentuk is sent into the grass. And that's over for Sentuk's chances of getting into the A final pretty much, unless these two take each other out. And that's Adrianson's round. Adrianson's has been sent round all by himself. And he's out. He's escaped. He's had enough. The Belgium has made a mistake on the final lap. And unfortunately, he just fell under pressure. It was all by himself as well. There was no contact involved. You can see here his car's getting super, super loose. Into here, Walsh makes a bit of a mistake, but just too much. Way too much into that. Into turn 7. You said it, Ron, how treacherous it can be. But while we were watching that, McFarquhar takes the victory here. 5.7 seconds ahead of Ambellard, Degualeldre, and Walsh. I genuinely think for one of the first times gets into an A final. That is absolutely incredible from the Brit. And well done to him. He accidentally crashes into Degualeldre as well. But wow, very impressive from Walsh, holding off Adriansons and Sentuk. Now that is a big statement.
That is a massive statement from the AM driver to hold off the challenge from the Pro, and the Pro AM driver just I mean, I wouldn't say flawlessly, he made a few mistakes here and there, but the fact he held them off for so long and the challenge they were trying to give him, and he still didn't crack under pressure, was truly unbelievable. Speaking of cracking under pressure, Sentuk, that contact he had going through turn 2, that contact through turn 2 just cost him horribly. That was horrific. The contact that he had, That actually sounds a little bit suggestive, but no, it was horrific towards his chances, let me say. He picked up that damage, and as you said, Aaron, in these F4 cars, just a small little bit of damage, a teeny tiny, it was just a small little tweak on that front wing that cost him dearly in this race. And I mean, he'll be going home, so I think he'll have plenty of time between now and the next time out at Bathurst to really think over how tonight went. And it all started with that small little contact he made with Lewis Gordon heading through turn number 2 on the opening lap of that first heat race here tonight. Just unbelievably dramatic stuff that we've had here thus far, and I think A main is going to be no different.
I think you're right there. It's going to be a very, very intense A final. We did have an intense B final, but the A final is going to be even better. I think the battle for the lead is going to be interesting. If there's going to be any team orders, probably between the two Wave Italy cars. There's going to be some comebacks we're going to see as well. I think McFarquhar is going to be nice to watch over the course of those 18 minutes. A couple of the drivers involved there. The battle for AM and Pro-Am is going to be interesting. I think we've got a really good A final on our hands here.
I think we're in store for a fantastic one. We've got plenty of action all throughout this field. I gotta imagine Jay Walsh will, I mean, he's gotta be happy with just making it into the A main. As you said, it's something that he hasn't done before in the past. So the fact that he's just here, he's in the main show, he's of that top 20, and he beat a lot of Pro and Pro-Am drivers to get it, he will be very impressed, and I think he should be happy about how his night is going, regardless of if he beats out his fellow AM competitor. I nearly said competitors, one competitor that he has in that AM category in this race, but I think just him making it to the A main is impressive, so regardless of how this next race comes, I think he'll be very happy with how his evening has gone. Lots of drivers very happy, lots of drivers very frustrated. Who do you think is a driver that's probably the most frustrated so far tonight, Aaron?
Lewis Gordon, probably. He didn't last 2 corners in either race. I don't think there's any contender for that, I can't lie. I mean, got taken out by Senturk, and then I can't remember the other guy that took him out, but yeah, he's just... Yeah, like I said, I want to offer the man a hug. He's literally crashed at the same place in both races. And unfortunately, he's very, very quick, but just is in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think a close second, probably Senturk. He was involved with Lewis Gordon in that first heat race, and of course, picked up that damage in the B final and missed out by just a few places. So he's definitely going to be hurting, especially because he's fighting for a championship at the moment.
A lot of very frustrated drivers with how their race has gone. I gotta imagine we'll see some more frustrated drivers, some more frayed nerves, but also some celebration here at the end of this A main. We're gonna get the starting grid for you here, and it's going to be Vetty Wheelman-Wellen at the front of the running order. The Wave Italy driver will be joined by his teammate Victor Komala there on the front row. Harvey Jones in third, Guzmel in second. My apologies, Guzmel in fourth, Larson in fifth, Jordan Johnson in sixth, Adrian Sins in seventh, Heldorn in eighth, Heron in ninth. And then Eric will be rounding out your top 10 here. We've got a smorgasbord of different drivers. We've got many pros, many AMs. We've actually got 3 AMs. My apologies. I thought we only had 2, but Zudwell managed to punch his ticket in that second heat race. A very good result from him, but still fairly small field. That'll be a nice fight there in the AMs. Nice fights all throughout this field. We're going to get the start of this race here in just a few moments' time. Fingers crossed that we don't see the Wave Italy drivers come to blows 2 weeks in a row. We'll see if they can get through the first few laps here clean. So the drivers are on their way now. The lights are at. They're heading into turn 1 here. Ooh, we can see some blocking already there from the drivers farther in the back. Jordan Johnson going for a send there, heading into turn number 1. We'll see if he can hold off on that position going around the outside. We've got drivers going side by side all throughout this field, already shuffling their way through this field. 3 wide heading into turn 3. That's not going to work, but they managed to squeeze through some grass mowing there going through. But oh, more 3 wide action here heading into, and that comes to blows.
It's a big crash.
Yeah, that is Jordan Johnson in the center of that, going 3 wide anywhere on this racetrack, which, as you said, is basically a glorified go-kart track. That does not go 3 wide, doesn't really fit anywhere besides the long straightaways, especially not heading through turn 3 and heading into turn 4. But those drivers tried it, and they learned their lesson of not to ever do it again, because all those drivers have now dropped down the running order like a rock. Meanwhile, up towards front, Eric has had a fantastic start, moving up into P5 already. That is a great start there for the Spaniard. Pioneer started this race in P10, moving up to P5. That is a fantastic result for him. I gotta wonder if he'll be sniffing at any sort of chance of finishing on the podium here in this race at Okayama. I think we have some action further in the back. Walsh making his way through the field up to 16th already. Run and Zudewell, the two Dutch drivers in the AM category, are right next to each other on track currently in P11 and P12. We've got some hard fighting all throughout this field, and we've already seen drivers come to blows.
Yeah, I nearly forgot my mic was unmuted there for a second, but I was going to say, let's just start calling Johnson Jimmy Johnson, but then I thought that would be harsh on Jordan, as nobody wants to be like Jimmy Johnson in IndyCar. That's just an insult, to be honest. But yeah, so like you said, Oryx had a very good start. McFarquhar as well has had a brilliant start, up 7 places into the top 10 already. And here we go then. Here's the real battling. Oh, big contact! Oh no! That's 4 cars involved there. 4 cars. Oh my god, that's Heldorn, Adrianson's Walsh, I think, might have been involved. Oh, dearie me. That was absolutely massive. We've already had 2 huge pileups in this race already. I did say it was going to be horrible. And, well, at the same corner as well, it just seems like that long right-hander up the hill just seems to be just a accident black spot for these guys.
What in the hell happened here? We're taking a look at the replay. That came out of absolutely nowhere. Jump scared me. Just a small little... Oh, it was lockups from some of those drivers that resulted in contact. They slowed up when they... Basically, 3 cars were linked together. And then Heldorn came in like a wrecking ball. That scared the daylights out of me. Oh, my lord. I think my heart skipped about 7 beats. I cannot do that at my old age of about 19 years old. I will not be able to be in good heart health by the time I'm 50 if I see more crashes like that. That was unbelievable. We're seeing some hard action here. Run ran a little bit wide coming through the final corner, and he's now possibly going to lose out on the lead in the AM category and lose out on P7 on track right now. Zudewell going for the move heading into turn 1, pulls it off nicely. I think they're still going side by side. He didn't quite clear him heading through turn number 1. Now he's trying to fight back, going side by side, coming through 2. Unbelievable. We'll see if we have another series of drivers come to blows coming through turn 4 this time by. I think at that rate, if we have some drivers come to blows here, we'll have to consider it some kind of curse. I think they've gone through cleanly thus far. You can see Luan Holt trying to go for a move here on Run. Run's drop back like a rock, was leading the the AM drivers, my apologies, was running in 7th, but has now dropped down, running just barely inside the top 10. And you can see hard racing all throughout this field, a massive pack of cars, all going side by side, all racing each other very hard. Lorenzato goes for a move to try and move up into P number 5. There's a battle with McFarquhar there, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, that's Michelson, my apologies. They're going through turn number 7 right now. This has been unbelievably tight. We usually expect a drama with transfer positions in the heat races in the B main, but in the A main, where all the points are up for offer, all these drivers are just being the crap at each other right now. I mean, granted, it's exciting to watch, but good lord, they're taking it hard. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible what we're seeing right now. I don't think we've seen hard racing like this for the first 2 rounds. They've kind of just been slipstream fest, but this is a track where these kind of races can happen, and it's just sends wheel-to-wheel racing and just proper brutal knuckle things. This is like Arnoux and Villeneuve on the last lap of the French Grand Prix all those many years ago, but just for the whole race, and that's the kind of thing we want to see. It's super, super close between all these guys, and well, let's hope, unlike the first 2 laps, that they won't end in a brutal 4-car pileup, which in real life probably would have decapitated one of the drivers. But, oh, this is super close between Michelson and Lorenzato now, as Michelson just about sneaks up ahead. But, of course, when one driver makes a move, it just provokes the rest of them to get involved as well. And you can see that the Norwegian has to look in his rearview mirror to the left and to the right in pretty much every direction. He has to have about 8 eyes to be able to win these types of battles, as Rutten just has a front row seat of everything that's going on, trying to pick off one by one. Oh, there's a bit of a squeeze there from Lorenzato on Spetkins. That could have been really, really bad. He got onto the gravel trap and just about kept it on the track. And honestly, you just got to have so many different POVs of all of this, and it's just calming down a little bit now as we head into the final sector, where there's not too many overtaking opportunities. But I mean, wow, what an incredible race. I just realized something as well. McFarquhar was in 4th place.
He's 13 places up from where he started. That is utterly incredible from the Brit. And like I said in the B final, he's got incredible pace, but sometimes just isn't able to prove it.
Ooh, that's a fantastic performance from him right now, up 13 spots. I mean, granted, a lot of them were from the tussles that we saw into this very corner, turn number 4, as we're seeing the Wave Italy drivers get very close, very flirtatious with each other on the brakes into turn 4. We may see Komala go for a move here. I gotta wonder if these drivers had to sit down after that Silverstone race where they made contact towards the end of the A main and really threw away any chance that both of them had of a podium, if they just had to sit down, chat to say like, hey, let's not do that again. But I think they were bump drafting going down the back straightaway. This is ridiculous stuff that we're seeing thus far. All these drivers, I said it at Ref, and I'll say it again here at Okayama, do these drivers just not have a fear of death? It is unbelievable the action that we're seeing all throughout this field, whether it be these drivers running for the podium positions, running for the win, running inside the top 10, or running just barely in the top 15. It is awesome stuff that we're seeing all throughout this field, and this is the epicenter of it all. I mean, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen with the SDK graphics, Michelson in P5 is 8.6 seconds, 8.6 to 8.7 seconds back of your leader right now. And then you have to go all the way back to Johnson in P12, who's 12.8 seconds back. So it's just a massive pack of cars separate by about 4 seconds. It is unbelievable, the action that we're seeing right now. And I think I may be right in saying that we may see some action here at the front. Kumala is feeling really racy right now, still very flirtatious with the back of his teammate's car. I mean, that would be disastrous if they made contact 2 weeks in a row. Ooh, I think I see, is that just a little glitch on my screen, or is there already front-end damage on the front of Komala's car? It looks like his nose cone is a little bit scraped up. Does that translate on your screen, Aaron?
No, that's just you.
Alrighty.
I mean, that's probably
American
from
connection.
the bump drafting. That's probably,
yeah, that...
I can actually, now that you point it out, I can see a little scrape, but yeah, that's just from the bump drafting, I'd imagine. Nothing too serious there. Yeah, they're just working as a team right now, and like you mentioned, they do want to avoid a repeat of last week. This is Amballard trying to defend from Zutuele. And you can see that up in front as well. Speckins and Lorenzato going wheel to wheel again, and that's Lorenzato round. And he's tumbling down the order. That's another bit of contact we've seen today. And unfortunate for him, I believe he's one of the new drivers in this series and has had a decent first round, but unfortunately has ended in contact for him. Actually, no, it didn't. It was just all by himself, and then Speckins was just the unfortunate person who collected him, and Speckins has now got huge front wing damage. And that's a real shame for the Frenchman, who was going really, really well in this debut race of his at Okayama. And Speckins is going to have to just tumble along in these last, 10 minutes to go now. You can see that his front nose is very, very damaged, and it's going to take a lot for him to finish inside the top 10 even again. So, and he's got, I mean, that's a huge train behind him. So this should be interesting to watch from the Dutchman's POV.
Yeah, he'll need a mobile nose job if he wants to have any sort of hope of holding on to that P7 position. But touching back on Lorenzato, my apologies. He is actually new to this series, as he said. He's only been on iRacing for about 3 months, but he has a 3K rating, so he is really good. We're seeing some hard, really good racing here between Zudawell there on the outside, going side by side, going down the back straightaway and heading into turn 5. Jordan Johnson clears him, so Johnson getting involved in that small little tussle at the start of this race. He's clawing his way through the field nicely, so the driver that I think has been, Sam Fitzpatrick, who is one of the coordinators of this series and one of the fellow commentators here on Apex Racing TV, outlined Johnson as one of the championship favorites heading into the season, but I've not seen championship favorite speed out of him so far this season. And I mean, he's been running up towards the front, but I haven't seen that X factor from him that would put him as my championship favorite. I have some other drivers that we've seen right now currently running in P8, which is a good recovery drive, but once again, not the best result in the world, if I'm being honest, from Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think I wanted to call him Jimmy Johnson earlier? It's just utter disappointment, to be honest. But no,
Good Lord.
He has been some of you people out there who don't watch IndyCar might be confused, but I know Ron understands. he loves IndyCar, so yeah,
I'm paid to talk about it. Of course, of course I know, but still, good. I feel like I need to go to like a Rite Aid or CVS or whatever the British equivalent is of like a big retail drugstore and go out and get like sunburn relief gel, because I mean, like the burn. Oh my God! I think before we get ourselves canceled or fired or yelled at after this broadcast, I think we should switch our attention back to the action on track. And Johnson, oh Lord, Johnson is involved in the fight now with Amblord, who is currently in a sandwich of cars right now. We've got we've got 2 pros and 2 AMs right now. Tim Runn currently running in P10. Ooh, he may be running in P9 here. A small little snap there from his AM adversary heading through turn number 7. Ooh, he actually backs out of it. I think he was very close to clearing him there, but just didn't have the best of exits there. I think he had to check up a little bit to avoid contact, and that was the reason why he wasn't able to claim that P9 spot in the P1 position in AM currently. But one driver that is, we haven't really mentioned, we mentioned him in that small little intervention we had between the B main and the A main, is Jay Walsh, and he's putting together a pretty good drive right now with all the chaos that's been going on. He's kept out of everyone's way. Actually, I think let me take a look at my live timing screen. I think he's now actually in the pits there. So right as I was going to make a point there that he was running good, he was running good when he was running on track. And if he was still on track, I think he would have been putting together a pretty good race. But sadly, I think he had a small little incident. We're now taking a look at a replay. This is heading through turn number 2. Oh, it's the, oh boy. That was Lorenzato there that actually spun coming out of turn 2. I'm not sure what in the world happened to him for that spin to happen. But Walsh here just, oh, it was a single car spin for Lorenzato, and Walsh got lost up in the, yeah, you can see massive suspension damage immediately after that contact. But, oh man, that's such a shame for him. He's still going to walk away with a P3 run in the AM category, but he was putting together a fantastic drive, had a fantastic evening, but sadly here, the A main doesn't go as well as he would have had in mind, but still, job well done to Jay Walsh for a fantastic drive all night. Sadly, he'll be leaving this race with last place finish.
Yeah, it's absolute heartbreak for him, and he was, yeah, like you said, he was just running fairly calm and collected at the back, and yeah, Lorenzato just has not had a good end to this first race of his, and yeah, real shame for both of them. They were both going fairly well, and yeah, always a comeback story that we love to see over the next few weeks. As Jay Walsh does come back out onto the track to claim some those last few points, and of course it will be more points than he would have gotten in a B final, so either way it's going to do him some good in that championship. But yeah, just what could have been for the Brits. And Ulrich as well has come into the pits as well. Something's happened to the Spaniard. Not 100% what happened to him. Yeah, he's completely towed back. We'll try and get a replay of what happened to him. Might have been all by himself. Here is what happened. And looking very loose through there. And I'm guessing it's going to be loose into this corner. And yeah. Oh, spin right round and into the wall
and
it goes.
into the wall.
Yeah, that was a very lonely, very depressing spin. I'm not going to lie. But yeah.
That was very sad. I think, is there any sort of way that we could play taps on the stream? I was about to sing Amazing Grace. You know what? I'm actually going to avoid any sort of musical references moving forward because I don't want to blow out the eardrums of the people dedicating their time to watch the stream on Apex. Yeah, McFarquhar has had some kind of mistake. Was there some sort of connection issue? We're seeing some battling here with Spetskins, but McFarquhar, what in the world happened to him? I'll take a look, see if he disconnected from the session. It hasn't said that he disconnected, so is there, like, did he briefly glitch out from the track and is kind of, according to our producer, he's actually, there we go, he popped back onto circuit. But I will say one thing, him and Michelson are fairly close right now, about 0.8 of a second, separating the two of them, actually decreasing to about a second as they're going through turns 1 and 2 right now.
Oh,
I think
no,
McFarquhar, that won't be, oh boy.
Oh,
we got Wave Italy drivers going side by side, battling for the lead here. Wellen has led from start to finish. Johnson has had some kind of mistake. We'll take a look at a replay there. Once his battle cools off here up towards the front, you can see him towing out of the pit. So good Lord, Aaron, Jesus Christ. And we're seeing the battling continue here between Wheelman, Wellen on the outside. Big lock up there. That was a massive lockup there from Komala, nearly resulted in those drivers coming to blows once again, coming through turn 5, but they managed to get through cleanly. No help there from Komala, who had a massive lockup. We're going to take a look at a replay, and you could just hear, we could just remain silent, and you could just imagine the screeching of the tires as they go into turn number 5. Ooh, that is, I mean, he didn't drift out too badly, but you got to imagine that you got to imagine that Wellen was having a little bit of a flashback to how things went in Silverstone and just decided to bail out of that corner to try not to have any sort of contact. We're looking at Johnson. He rolled back a little bit. That was the end of the incident. Not sure it spawned him to get off track in the first place. Oh, we're seeing some battling here heading into turn number 1. I don't have a good feeling about this. Is this yet again car-to-car contact? Oh, yeah, there it is.
Man.
Oh, and
that was silly.
Yeah,
that was.
Man.
That was just super silly that was Spetkins who he was involved with, and has actually managed to promote Jay Walsh just up a few places. So, you know, whoop whoop go the Brit, and he makes up a few places. But yeah, just that was a really weird one between Johnson and Spetkins. They just kind of merged towards each other towards the end of that straight. I think Johnson had a bit more room on his left, but then Spetkins had a bit more room on his right. So just an awkward one. But anyway, let's resume this battle. Oh, no, there's more contact between the teammates again. Once again, it's the same lockup from Kumala, and they've made contact again 2 weeks in a row. And, well, part of me is starting to get a Red Bull-y Mercedes vibe from these two, and this surely isn't going to end well. Wellen, I think, gave him more than enough room. Oh, I don't know, actually. Yes, I mean, Kumala, we still had that lock up into it, and that's a difficult one. And we'll get one more look at what happened. This is, of course, going into the hairpin, and let's keep an eye on what Kumala does. A little bit of a lock up, but he's still close to the apex. So,
yeah,
man. I'd say that's a little bit more on Wellen. Maybe just turned it a bit too early, but it's such a difficult one to call, to be honest. Especially when it's between teammates, it's awkward to call. I mean, it's just like, it's a horrible feeling. And well, one can only imagine what kind of talk is going to be had after. But we are on the white flag now, and Wellen looks like he is still going to finish on the podium, but it has promoted Harvey Jones up into second, and Komala as well, of course, is running away with the race win at the moment. It'll be interesting to say what the stewards think of that. I'm going to guess it will just go down as a racing incident, but who knows. This is Tim Russin as well, who's kind of gone under the radar, actually, and am up into 6th. This is absolutely massive for that amateur championship. We have not seen an amateur this far up in a long, long time, but Amballard and Zutuele are going to give him a fair go for his money.
Oh, nearly.
That's super, super close. The Dutchman of Zutuele getting so, so close. Amballard now on the inside line for these next 2 corners. It'll be smart if he just gives up this place and just hopes that he can keep Zutuele behind him. Oh, he nearly loses the car. And Zutuele goes off the inside. Yeah, and Zutuele and Russin side by side. Oh, it's super, super close between these two. Amballard will probably get P6, but I think it's going to be Russin who's going to keep that. And while we're watching that, Kumala ends up winning. Not surprising at all. He's been really, really good this race and for most of today. But it looks like Tim Russin's just going to hold on to that 7th place. It might be a run to the line, but I think it's just, it's not too much for this. And Zutuele will have to settle for 8th place, 2nd in AM. And wow, that was a fantastic end to the race. And once again, we were not left disappointed in this race at all. Plenty of action up and down the field. And wow, what an incredible day to be, well, watching the stream, to be a commentator, to be a driver. It's just entertainment left and right.
I think we're taking a look at a replay of some action that was happening farther in the back while we were seeing the drivers. Oh boy, more drivers coming to blows. That was heading into turn number 8. But last time by, low and hot there. Very dramatic day for him from start to finish. He does a quick little burnout and then toes back to the pits. I think we'll take a look at another replay here. Coming out of 7 there, carry a lot of speed in these Formula 4 cars and just, ooh, oh, that was trying to skate around the words, but I think that was a bit of a dick move there from Heron, if I'm honest. That looked borderline intentional because he just steered right into the car. I don't know what in the world might have happened unless like he has a pet at home that like just distracted him and like took the steering out of his hand. I don't know what in the hell happened there, but wow, I have a lot to say. Some things that I may say may get me in trouble, but I think unbelievable action that we had here from tonight's race, all of the races, whether it be the 2 heats, the B main or the A main. We have a lot to say after that, but we'll take a look at the finishing order from this A main. And it's Victor Komala. There's going to be some tense discussions in the Wave Italy Racing Team virtual pits, after the race that they just had. Komala, after making contact with his teammate for the 2nd race in a row, finishes this race at the front. We'll see if there's any sort of penalties. As you said, Aaron, I think that will be more of a racing deal. I would mark that as a racing deal if I were in charge. But again, that's me. There's a reason I'm in the commentary booth and not behind the wheel. He'll be taking the win here. Harvey Jones slotting in P2. We didn't really talk about him too much, but he finishes this race in 2nd. Very good result from the Brit there. And then Will Manuel in there in P3. He has to be, I wouldn't say kicking himself, but he has to be pissed off after that race. I can't really blame him there. So he'll be finishing this race and rounding out your podium there in 3rd. McFarquhar had a very quiet race, clawed his way up through the field quite nicely. He finishes this race in 4th. Michelson in 5th. Amblord in 6th. Run taking the win. Out of the AM drivers, he will be finishing this race in 7th. Zudowell right behind there. It was about a 10th of a second separating the two of those at the checkered flag. It shows you how tense the battling was between those two Dutchmen there in the AM category. Archie Heron in 9th. Guzmel running out the top 10. Heldorn, Adrian Sins, Delagojoy, Lortson, Walsh, Halt, Spetskins, Johnson, Arik, and Lorenzado. All of the drivers that finished outside the top 10 were involved in some sort of incident throughout this race. Many of the drivers finishing a lap down. Credit to Jay Walsh, though. He got back on track, was running last, right as I was going to say that he was running in the top 15, but then rejoined the track, and with the accidents that happened farther up the road, he managed to claw back into that top 15. So, wow, that was... I am at a loss for words of the action that we just saw, but I think we may have some interviews for some of these drivers to try and explain what they just saw on track.
Yes, we do. And, well, Ron, I'll let you decide if you want to take this first one. I honestly don't mind. You can do the honors if you'd like. I can. I don't mind.
Alrighty, I think we'll, I was going to say we'd do a game of rock, paper, scissors, but doing it in a Discord call would probably lead to some kind of rigging of this. So I think I'll bring in our driver here, Frenchman here, joining us in the virtual commentary booth. Delagoje, I apologize if I absolutely butcher your pronunciation every single time I say it, but thank you so much for joining us in the commentary booth. How was it out there?
It was tough, especially the A final, but the B final was quite good. Not much to say, I just had no luck on the A final. How do you say it in English? Sorry, my English is quite bad. There is a lot of car in front, they braked, I braked, but the man behind just don't brake, and that's it. I had to pit, and after that it was just driving in circle.
Yeah, you got a little bit of a, you got checked up, I guess would be the correct term, from the drivers braking farther up the road.
Yeah, that's what I would say, yeah. And don't worry for my name, even in French they don't know how to pronounce it, so...
Well, I think myself as the resident American loudmouth here on Apex Racing TV, I try my best to get the pronunciations right, but you were at the epicenter of a lot of that drama. You saw the tense fighting all throughout this race. What would you say was the race that was the most hectic from the ones that you were involved in? Was the heat race, which from my perspective, at least here in the commentary booth, was a little bit tame? Was it the A main? Just what was the drama, the most dramatic race that you were involved in tonight, and what do you think that was?
I think it was the heat race. I think it was the second one that I did, and I was let's say I was driving like Daniel Kvyat, a little bit like a torpedo. So I'm not very how do you say? I'm not really I don't have the word. It's terrible. When you are happy. I'm not happy. Yes, that was the word. I'm not very happy with the race.
A little bit upset, shall we say?
Yeah, upset because I hit some people. It was not on purpose. I just blocked up the brake and hit them. Tried my best to stay clean, but yeah, sometimes it's happened.
Well, he had a very dramatic race here at Okayama. Do you think, how do you fancy your chances heading into the next race at Bathurst?
I think I may be able to play top 10 in the A final if I keep my actual performance. I just need a little bit much luck, I guess. But I think, yeah, A final, I will try to get in it, and if I get in it, I think I can get top 10.
We will keep that in mind, and we'll see if you make it into the A main. We're expecting those races to be very dramatic, so fingers crossed you can get through it cleanly and be in that A main, because as you said, you might stand with a good shot of breaking into the top 10 there. Thank you so much for joining us here in the commentary booth. Anyone would like to give thanks to or shout out?
And thanks to you, man, all of you, for commenting the race. It's always a pleasure.
Well, thank you very much for that. We appreciate the kind words about these broadcasts, and you want to thank out any sponsors of your team as well. You gotta get those mentions in as well.
Yeah, thanks to Brico Marché. And yeah, also I have to say well done to my teammate, top 6, if I say so right.
Always got to get the teammates and the team shout-outs in there. So thank you so much for joining us here. Dewala Gudje, I absolutely butchered that. I apologize. I had some kind of minor, like my tongue got wrapped around itself about 7 times there. But thank you so much for joining us. And fingers crossed we can hear from you again later on throughout the rest of the season, my friend.
I hope so. And again, thanks to you.
Alrighty, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here, and fingers crossed we see you at Bathurst. That was your P4 finisher from the Pro-Am drivers here tonight, and I don't think we're going to have anyone else come in here to the commentary booth to have a quick little chat with us, which I think may be a good thing just because we have a lot to break down from that. Drivers going for bold moves. We saw multiple pile-ups. I'm shocked we didn't see a driver end up on their lid, which got very close to happening. But Aaron, just final thoughts on the dramatic race that we just saw.
I just thought it was just a bit silly from some of the drivers. For some reason, my voice is just starting to go, so I apologise if I sound strange. But yeah, I just think some of these guys just need to be a bit more patient, and some of them were just making very rash decisions, especially on that first lap in that A final. I felt that some of them were just... There's going to be a big penalty for, I think it was Gooselman, who was one of the guys who caused that big pile up on that first lap. And yeah, I just think some of them need to just calm down. It's the first lap. You don't need to go for sends all the time, and just chill. It's okay. You've got plenty of time to make up those places. You can see here from your on your screens, this is what happened on that first lap. It was just a bit silly from Axel, to be honest, and those are the kinds of things that cause those big pile-ups. And yeah, I definitely think some of these guys just need to just take a chill pill, take a week, take a few days, just to gather up that racecraft and just be a bit more patient, just to improve their racecraft.
I think take a deep breath, take a chill pill, take some horse tranquilizer, whatever it may be to get some of these drivers down, calm down. I think, actually no, I will not say that we should calm these drivers down, just because the racing that we saw here tonight was absolutely phenomenal here to call in the commentary booth. I can't speak for you, Aaron, but I really enjoyed it, even though we saw a lot of drivers going for some jack butt moves, shall we say. So I think I gotta imagine there may be some very tense discussions after this race. There may be some tense discussions after Bathurst, because we outlined that is technically a street circuit, even though it has had much more of a permanent circuit feel with the asphalt runoffs and some gravel traps as well. So Aaron, just switching our attention to that race in 1 week's time, what do you think Bathurst is going to be like?
Even worse, probably. I can't lie. I mean, if Okayama's this chaotic, then Bathurst is... it's a thought that I don't think many people want to think of, to be honest. It's going up that hill on that first lap. If one person if one person makes a mistake or just maybe has a failure on their wheel or pedals or something, it's over for the rest of the field. Everyone, it's done. No one's getting out alive. And that's the thing about Bathurst. It can go so wrong so easily, and you have to be on your toes. And well, I'd like to think that people would be prepared, because of course the Bathurst 12 is next week, and people will be practicing for that instead of this. So who knows? I hope that people will be prepared, but you just never know with some of these drivers.
I think regardless of whether we see these drivers calm down, whether we see some more aggression there, or whether these drivers just try and act a little bit more tame or sane, whatever word you want to use to describe the racing that we saw here, I think it's going to be a must-watch in 1 week's time here on Apex Racing TV. Speaking of, if you'd like to tune in, we'll be back again next Saturday. That'll be at the same time, the same place here on Apex Racing TV, and that is going to be one heck of a race. I can't force you to watch it because I think that would be some kind of crime to force you to be on your computer for a certain number of time, but I still think that is going to be a great race. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you, Aaron. I think there's a little bit of apprehension there, but I think that's going to be a fantastic race. In 1 week's time, if you'd like to tune into that, once again, it'll be here on Apex Racing TV, same time, same place, next Saturday. So I think that just about does it here from this race in Okayama. A very dramatic race from start to finish. The heat races were dramatic. The A main was chaotic from start to finish, and the B main was probably the most tame one that we had, even though we saw some championship contenders coming to blows. But wow, an unbelievable race here at Okayama. Our congratulations go out to the winners and podium finishers from tonight's races. They'll be riding on a high heading into next week. So for myself, Ron Mons, Aaron Smith joining me in the commentary booth, and Josh Wilkie working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you all once again in 1 week's time.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.